6 million people across Tennessee and parts of South Carolina and Kentucky, they're under flood watches today after a severe storm slammed Chattanooga just overnight. 3 people were killed when a tree fell on their car as torrential rain and flash flooding shut down roads, stranded those drivers, sparked water rescues. 1 man is missing after first responders saw him get swept away by those very floodwaters.
So in a sane world, you'd think that places like this are where the National Guard could be helpful and needed, as opposed to on the streets of DC, where federal agents can be found cracking down on smoking outside.
How y'all doing today? Y'all staying in that trouble? You got your ID on you, Chip?
Well, no, I live right here.
Okay, cool.
It's a cigarette.
Or in California, where federal agents are just waiting outside a Democratic official's public event because that's not fascist looking at all.
Well, I think it's pretty sick and pathetic. And it just said everything you need to know, the setting that we're under. That they chose the time, manner, and place to send their district director outside right when we're about to have this press conference. It said everything you know about Donald Trump's America.
But Frank, it's been a day from hell for the current president, with the eyes of the country on California Governor Gavin Newsom as he held a press conference directly rebuking the president over his attempts to sway the 2026 midterms.
And here we are, in open and plain sight, before one vote is cast in the 2026 midterm election. And here he is once again trying to rig the system. He doesn't play by a different set of rules. He doesn't believe in the rules. And as a consequence, we need to disabuse ourselves of the way things have been done. It's not good enough to just hold hands, have a candlelight vigil, and talk about the way the world should be. We have got to recognize the cards that have been dealt. And we have got to meet fire with fire. And we've got to be held to a higher level of accountability. So that's what this is about. It's not complicated. We're doing this in reaction to a president of the United States that called a sitting governor of the state of Texas and said, find me 5 seats. We're doing it in reaction to that act.
Not to mention, Newsom also called into question the ever so convenient presence of ICE agents outside the venue that he was speaking. I mean, how this isn't dominating headlines across the country, I don't know.
We're making Los Angeles a safer place since we won't have politicians do that ourselves. So that's what we're here today. If you can see.
And it just said everything you need to know, the setting that we're under. That they chose the time, manner, and place to send their district director outside right when we're about to have this press conference. It said everything you know about Donald Trump's America. And that was top down. You know that for a fact. They'll deny it, I'm sure. Maybe they won't deny it. It said everything you know about the authoritarian tendencies of the President of the United States. I said in a moment ago, wake up, America. Wake up. You will not have a country if he rigs this election. You will have a president who will be running for a 3rd term. Mark my word. I wasn't exaggerating when I said that I received in the mail a Trump 2028 hat from one of his biggest supporters. These guys are not screwing around. The rules do not apply to him. The most corrupt president in history. Doesn't believe in free enterprise, crony capitalism. He is wrecking this country, wrecking the economy. He's a lawless president. Wake up, America. Wake up to what's going on.
But this all comes as videos have surfaced online showing the National Guard standing with their hands in their pockets on the streets of DC as Donald Trump instructed federal agents to, quote, clean up the city, a city that has shown record lows in violent crime, but
becoming a situation of complete and total lawlessness. And we're getting rid of the slums too. We have slums here. We're getting rid of them. I know it's not politically correct. You'll say, oh, so terrible. No, we're getting rid of the slums.
We know that access to our democracy is tenuous. That is why you have heard me and many Washingtonians before me advocate for full statehood for the District of Columbia. We are American citizens. Our families go to war. We pay taxes and we uphold the responsibilities of citizenship. And while this action today is unsettling and unprecedented, I can't say that given some of the rhetoric of the past, that we're totally surprised.
And while many have pointed out the irony of Trump sending in the National Guard to target homeless people while failing to do so as his own supporters just wreaked havoc on the Capitol on January 6th.
You think it's because Trump cares about crime in D.C., really? Because I remember Donald Trump on January the 6th, 2021, not giving a crap about crime in D.C.
Now for January 6th. Okay,
sorry,
Mehdi, no, Mehdi, come on,
Let me finish my point. This is a short segment.
I know you said that. 150 police officers got hurt.
Speak. Hold on. You gave Bill O'Reilly a lot of time. Let me give an answer. I'm here for much shorter time. Let me speak. On January 6, 2021, you may want to move on for it. We all watched police officers in D.C. being attacked by a Trump-supporting mob, 150 injured, 600 people convicted.
Mehdi, you're going to sit here. We know the statistics of January 6th. Mehdi, you're going to sit here. Mehdi, you're going to sit here. Mehdi, you're going to sit here and say if Trump cures cancer, then January 6th was terrible. Okay, the fact of the matter is you can't have an argument. You can't have an argument about what's happening on the streets of D.C. without going back to January 6th.
Because it's about
you won't talk about actually the crime.
Donald Trump, Leland. But Leland's
no, it's not. It's about how to have people be safe.
I said to you, Donald Trump doesn't care about crime in D.C. You said, yes, he does. And I said, I'm going to give you evidence to prove he doesn't. If he cared about crime in D.C., why did he pardon 600 people who assaulted police officers? You can't come and make this emotional
claim. Oh, come on, Mehdi. You can't. You're talking about completely different things.
You don't actually care about crime, then.
You cannot talk about this. There's completely different things going on.
Why?
What do you mean either I care about crime or I don't?
Where was the National Guard? Where was the National Guard on January 6th, 2021 in D.C.?
No, this is silly. This is absolutely silly, Mehdi. You can't do this. No, because it has nothing to do with what's happening or what the arguments are right now. Okay? And you can't, no, it has nothing to do with it.
Crime matters in D.C. The victims of crime matter in D.C. What about the cops in D.C.?
And I'm the only person who died on January 6th was a Trump supporter. And you can't talk about what's happening on the streets right now.
Let me know when you want me to speak.
No, you can't talk about you cannot talk about this without talking about January 6th or anything else. You won't have an argument on the merits. Mehdi, thank you.
Many are also asking if the National Guard would be better use in places like Tennessee as a record flood swept away entire neighborhoods.
Well, 6 million people across Tennessee and parts of South Carolina and Kentucky, they're under flood watches today after a severe storm slammed Chattanooga just overnight. 3 people were killed when a tree fell on their car as torrential rain and flash flooding shut down roads, stranded those drivers, sparked water rescues. 1 man is missing after first responders saw him get swept away by the...
And this comes merely 2 months after President Trump approved a major disaster declaration for select Tennessee counties that suffered costly damage from April storms. That decision came more than 2 months after severe storms had battered Middle and West Tennessee. And here we have more flooding yet again. Meanwhile, victims of flooding in Texas, they're still battling with lawmakers in their districts over assistance. But, don't worry, Texas lawmakers are fully focused on redistricting maps to ensure that their negligence isn't going anywhere anytime soon.
Our warning was screaming down the road. That was our warning.
Our confidence has been shaken by the lack of coordination, chain of command glitches, and time taken to issue a code red, as well as the lack of the warning system and on that was discussed earlier. And what comes to my mind is a word that hasn't been brought up yet, and that is complacency.
The only thing more powerful than the flood has been the outpouring of volunteers and community members who have taken it upon themselves to help us recover. Assistance and prompt guidance from our local government regarding our rebuilding efforts have been non-existent. I have met no local county officials in Hunt or in my neighborhood. nor have I encountered anyone from the state.
All this millions of dollars that come from all over the place getting donated, where in the hell's that going? It ain't going to the volunteers, you know. I mean, where? You know, my God, I've got volunteers. I got the time they showed up and the time they left, and I can't afford to pay them. But they did it out of the kindness of the heart. All that money is going to some politician's slush fund somewhere.
The president and the governor sat here in this building promising that we would have every resource that we need to rebuild. And the very next Monday, the first thing our county judge put on the table was an 8% property tax hike.
I'm a volunteer, and like many others, friends, neighbors, and strangers from across the state, we showed up because help was needed. By the time government entities were seen on the scene, we had already recovered bodies, coordinated supply chains, brought in heavy equipment, served hot meals, provided medical care, and tried, often unsuccessfully, to get help across a broken bridge.
That's what's so sad about a special session in Texas that's about helping people after a flood that killed over 100 people. So many parents, their daughters didn't come home from camp. And I can't imagine being a parent myself living through that. And now a special session that's supposed to be about them and those families has become purely political. It's wrong on so many levels.
And with more flooding expected in Tennessee and more damage expected, this is where our federal dollars are being spent.
One day after President Trump announced his plan, National Guard troops were deployed to D.C. streets Tuesday night, joining nearly 900 federal agents and officers that have taken post around Washington, alongside local police who are now under the authority of the Trump administration.
The truth is more important than ever. Check out our new Truth Over Lies collection at store.MeidasTouch.com. All 100% USA union made.